Here's Brody Brazil.
So this has very much become an unintentionally popular segment that I do here on YouTube. I take a look at Las Vegas media, what they're saying about their city and their state and the potential of the Oakland A's relocating. Their perspectives are fascinating to me. I mean, I know what people are saying here in Northern California. I understand their perspectives and their sentiments, but let's hear it from real Las Vegans. How do they feel about everything that's going on from their totally different viewpoint? I've got a little sampling here of television and print, but we'll actually begin on the radio. Here's 102.7 with Amy and Sean.
Las Vegas A's, they released a...
Wait, Sean. Now wait, Sean, I know you'll see this because you commented on a prior video, but did you just say the Las Vegas A's? Did you just put the cart in front of the horse? It's not official yet, or maybe ever, but...
Las Vegas A's...
Come on, Sean. You know I love you, buddy. Keep up the good work on the show. Anyway, Sean's going to make some points here. Amy will too.
Las Vegas A's, they released a survey of 700 people showing that a clear majority of voters in Clark County were in favor of supporting $500 million in funding raised by a stadium district to help the A's build their new stadium. According to the study, 72% of voters were in favor. The study was done when the stadium district was going to be around a pretty awful corner of Trop and Dean Martin. Every time I've ever seen a quote-unquote lady of the night, it's around that area.
To be clear, I mean, the point is when the survey was done about the stadium project, it was at a totally different cost, at a totally different time, at a totally different location. And that's what Sean is summarizing here on the radio.
Now they're looking at the Tropicana. The whole idea of the stadium district is like, listen, you're going to improve this area so much. We're going to let you have the taxation around that area that you improve so well. We're going to give it to you as an incentive for you to build here.
That's a great point, right? At the Wild Wild West site, which needed that improvement, which was 49 acres of what sounds to be, not an optimal neighborhood or area, that would be the incentive of, hey, build a ballpark here, make this better. But
when you're building it at Las Vegas Boulevard and Tropicana, like
maybe you don't need the same help, is what he's saying.
In Tropicana, like they're doing just fine.
Yeah, there's no need.
I want baseball here, but like I'm not dumb enough.
Wow, that's a pretty straightforward point.
I want baseball here, but like I'm not dumb enough. It's so silly.
That is Sean of Amy and Sean on 102.7. Okay, this is from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. They're obviously a print publication, but they do some multimedia. I don't know this person's name, but here we go.
The Oakland Athletics are negotiating with Clark County to bridge a $75 million gap in public financing for...
Now, I thought it was $200 million because if you take the $195 off of the $395 that the A's are asking for, right? So the $195 is what the state of Nevada has not promised because the language hasn't even been submitted yet, but reportedly the state of Nevada is good for about $195 of $395. So that's, to me, that's $200 million of undiscovered amounts of money. Let's re-cue the clip here.
The Oakland Athletics are negotiating with Clark County to bridge a $75 million gap in public financing.
So it's not 200 according to the Review-Journal. It's only $75 million of a gap.
A proposed $1.5 billion ballpark, as the A's and lawmakers are financing a bill that would dedicate tax funding for stadium construction. State and county officials have committed to $320 million of the Major League Baseball team's $395 million request. So,
I mean, the math is they're saying, I mean, they're not doing the math wrong. I just don't know how they got to those numbers. They say that 320 is accounted for, not just 195. And that's not explained where that other bit of money is coming from. The A's are trying to work with the final 75 or work with the county on the final 75, but where's the other money in between 195 and 320? Do you follow me on that?
And the funding bill is slated to be introduced in Carson City next week.
And I think that's the end of the clip. Let me just say, if it comes down to a $1.5 billion ballpark and what it could do anywhere, whether it's right there at the Tropicana Hotel site or whether it is north of Jack London Square at Howard Terminal, which reportedly came down to $88 million between the city of Oakland and the A's being that far apart on infrastructure money. $88 million apart. Now here we're $75 million apart for a $1 billion, $1.5 billion ballpark project. What's confusing to me is $75 million in the scope of a major league franchise. I mean, you might commit that amount of money to an outfielder for like a 6-year contract or a 5-year contract. It's confusing to me that if it really is only $75 million for all the benefits it could bring, sometimes I'm all for like promo codes when I buy something and I try and get it down, the price down as much as I can. But at some point, I can't, if it really is that, and that's why I'm not sure if it really is that, but I digress. Okay, let's go to Fox 5.
The $200 million divide.
Wait a second. The Review Journal just told me it was $75 million. And I believe this is my friend Jacqueline here from Fox 5.
The $200 million divide.
So wait a second. It's not $75 million. It is
the $200 million divide.
Again, interpretation, misunderstanding, but in fairness to everybody covering this, and I want to make this clear, not to say that anybody's 100% right or wrong here. Everybody's operating on different numbers and schedules here because nothing has officially been presented or discussed or documented, right? So give everybody credit for trying to just follow along here.
According to stakeholders in the executive branch, a number of lawmakers are holding firm at the potential ballpark bill and $995 million at the Tropicana site. The A's are asking for $395 million in financing. Lawmakers still have not seen a bill. Fox 5 is told nothing will be rushed in the 11th hour. The deadline for a bill to be passed is May 26.
So again, the $195 million in tax breaks by the state, the $395 million request by the A's, there's your $200 million gap is where we're at. Okay, Jacqueline, go ahead.
So if you build it, will people come?
Field of Dreams reference, I got it.
The A's say millions of people will come to that strip-side ballpark every single year. We asked experts in baseball and tourism to weigh in.
The A's are proposing to build what would be the smallest ballpark in the major league.
By a significant amount, by the way. The next closest is 34,000, I want to say 35 almost in Cleveland. This is for 30,000 on the dot. So smallest in size, I mean a retractable at a roof at 9 acres. That's not done anywhere else in the major leagues. And the amount of seats at 30,000, that is also not done anywhere else.
You would pretty much have to sell out every single night to hit the projection.
Bill Shaken with the LA Times covers all bases in his beat, from the game to the business of baseball. He took a hard look at this ballpark number from Bally's, 2.5 million visitors a year.
And this is what they're basing, funding and financing of the ballpark and what it's going to bring to Las Vegas. But I've said this before and I'll repeat it again. It's one thing to say, here's what we're expecting. It's a different thing to point at this and say, here's what we can produce at our maximum output every single game, every single season, every single year after year. The best you can do and what you're actually going to do might be two totally different things.
The proposed stadium. By Bill's math, ball games alone would need close to a full house for 81 home and 2 preseason games to.
So what gets you to 2.5 million? 30,000 for 83 home dates.
2 preseason games to hit that number. The Tropicana site would have around 30,000 seats, small by MLB standards. 11 MLB teams reached that attendance, including the Dodgers, who boast 56,000 seats and have a good team locals want to see.
The problem the A's are going to have if they're going to go to 30,000 seats is there will be nights when Cleveland is there on a Tuesday. Nothing against Cleveland, but that's not going to be a big draw.
There's also going to be the issue of how many season tickets do you sell? Now, the A's have projected a 70-30 mix, 70% locals, 30% tourists. But how do you reserve enough tickets to make sure tourists can come if that's going to be part of your mix, or Do you limit season tickets? This is unprecedented because no team in professional sports across the board really uses the strategy of tourists as one of their main attendance factors.
There will be other nights when the Yankees are in town.
Wait, is that the A's game? Is that a highlight of an A's game? I think this is stock footage, by the way. Sorry, I got to go back.
The Yankees are in town. That's a huge draw.
Bill cautions against comparing the tourism success of Raiders games to baseball. Raiders boast 10 home games.
Right. I mean, and that's apples and oranges, which we've been discussing now for quite some time.
Pretty much happen on weekends.
Are you coming from Baltimore on a Tuesday night in the middle of summer? The most local of all sports.
Baseball fans don't travel the same way that football fans do. Had less concerns had they chosen one of the other proposed sites, how challenging that's going to be for people from the suburban areas to attend. And I'm sure they're going to get tourists. They're going to have to rely on us.
Dr. Amanda Bellarmino of the William F. Herrick College of Hospitality tracks tourism and sports tourism.
Which this is an interesting part of it, right? Like you're asking locals, if you really are going for that 70% figure, you're asking them to come down to this busyness and this traffic and navigate through this instead of like right now. You know, the reason that they say attendance in Summerlin for the Aviators is so popular because that is totally in the suburbs and not in the heart of Las Vegas.
She predicts A's home games in Vegas would have better attendance with so many locals with weeknights off. But if a ballpark is built, will locals and families actually come down to the Strip?
Regardless if the team is winning, if you want locals to enjoy the experience, then the experience has to be catered to us too. If you want to not charge us for parking, it would probably be great. It's a lot of games. And if you're going to be selling season tickets, it's going to be to those of us who live here, and we want to be a part of it.
Already requesting free parking. I mean, locals are making their demands. I mean, I get it.
But we want to feel that we're valued.
Bellarmino cautions against too much public financing for these potential attendance levels, and unless the A's build their ballpark for concerts, other events won't book it to maximize the use. Also, Shaken says fewer stadium seats could mean higher prices for tickets, so if families are on a budget, they may choose to go instead to the Aviators.
And I want to be clear here, that supply and demand effect is very much a thing. You have only 30,000 seats on very popular nights. Now, you're going to have some unpopular nights. So I don't think this is going to be anything consistent. I think attendance over the time, if it's going to be there, it will greatly fluctuate depending on what the attraction is or whether the A's are really good or not. The other point, which is super valid, is that you can't just have this be a baseball-only stadium. It has to be able to cater to concerts and other events and other things which keep it open and busy. And those numbers, about 2.5 million, you don't just obviously get there on baseball alone. You're going to need 30, maybe 40 other events throughout the year that bring fans to this baseball sometimes, but not all the time stadium at the Tropicana Hotel site. Okay, do we have one more? Oh, this is Channel 8, the CBS affiliate, and I already know what this is. This is my favorite stinger. Here we go.
Our 8 News Now
Did I see the whole thing? I was cheated. Just the very end of it. Anyway, I digress. Let's do it one more time.
Our 8 News Now investigators have new information on the A's possible move from Oakland to Las Vegas. We've all been watching and waiting to see if lawmakers come up with the $395 million the A's are asking for.
And yes, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Channel 8 has already redone the A's logo with the Las Vegas name on it. It's a lot of Photoshop right there.
From the state and county, 8 News Now investigator Kyle Payne joins us in studio with more details. Kyle.
Kirsten, as usual, money is at the center of the drama in Carson City, where any day now we expect to hear how all these logistics with the A's and Clark County and the state will shake out.
A source intimately familiar with these negotiations tells 8 News Now that the A's deal will look nothing like the Raiders deal when they moved here from Oakland.
Which involved all that room tax, right? It involved new taxes for people visiting Las Vegas. They said kind of like a user fee, but people in Nevada and especially people in Clark County, they did not like the way in reverse that worked out.
In that case, Clark County raised hotel room taxes to pay for the bond for Allegiant Stadium.
0.88%, I believe, was the room tax for Clark County. Oh, and by the way, then there's this. They keep showing this Google Earth view of that's the Tropicana site with literally, I'm pretty sure that's Oracle Park superimposed on it. Oracle Park right there, I mean, I can tell. That is not to scale. That's also not the location on that plot of land of where the ballpark will be. It's going to be a much smaller little postage stamp on the bottom right corner down there. You see where those cars are? Where the hotel structure isn't. It's going to be the southeast corner, not the northwest corner of the Tropicana site. Maybe not the biggest deal to you or I, but aesthetics and precision on this is very important. This is not going to be a walk up to the ballpark from the strip type thing. This is going to kind of be in the back lot eventually of the new Bally's Hotel, which they will definitely build there.
In this case, the county will take the taxes earned from sales in and around the ballpark to pay off or service those bonds. That's because Governor Joe Lombardo says he won't allow any new taxes to fund the A's new stadium. And that stadium most likely will take over the land where the Tropicana Hotel now stands.
Or behind it, to be clear.
But the 8 News Now investigators also learned that the previous land deal the A's struck just a couple of weeks ago to take over land adjacent to the Trop owned by Station Casinos was partly done in because Las Vegas's powerful culinary union wouldn't support that site because some of the Station Casinos aren't unionized.
So now we know in reverse. I mean, and there was also the opportunity for the A's to get free land. I mean, I think it's $180 million valued of free land at this Tropicana site versus this land, which they were in a binding agreement that got unbinded pretty quickly, unbound. They were going to buy this land. They were going to pay for this land. Now they're getting it for free, but you realize why this was going to be a huge roadblock. If they went forward with this, the culinary union was not going to be very happy about it. Apparently, they've got a ton of influence in Southern Nevada.
Those aren't unionized. The source also tells 8 News Now that the A's are certain to ask the state to waive the live entertainment tax.
Interesting. That's something else I didn't know about.
Which tax on 9% to the price of concerts and sporting events, an exemption lawmakers have allowed to make it more palatable.
9%?
For the Vegas Golden Knights and Raiders to come to Las Vegas.
Kirsten, I did reach out to Red Rock Resorts, which owns Station Casinos, and the Culinary Union for comment. The Culinary Union referred me to public statements they've already made over the last month or so. Red Rock had no comment. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Now, the A's have the lowest payroll in baseball, the worst record, been a few years since they made the playoffs, and out of all the MLB teams, they have the fewest number of fans attending.
I mean, I know all that stuff because I live through it every day. I host the post-game show. Felt like she was kind of kicking dirt there at the end. And then when she said they have the fewest amount of fans attending games, felt like there was a bit of a cliffhanger there. I know that was not intentional. It was just context. That's called a tag on a story. You're trying to fill out the rest of it. But okay. All right. So there we have it. A quick sampling of Las Vegas media. And sometimes, like I said, it's just interesting to gauge their perspective, their body language on things, how they're approaching this, and kind of how it changes over time with updated developments. You've watched here all the way to the end. I appreciate that. Thumbs up since you did. That'd be great for the channel. And also, don't forget to subscribe so that I can see you back here next time.